Hey you, it's another beautiful day. Let's watch some stuff.
So, while you were distracted with the Trump trial verdict, I'm going to guess you didn't hear what President Biden did the same exact day. This is a clear indication that when there's a huge story that's wall to wall coverage, they're doing something else that you don't want them to know about. I'm going to say this is for entertainment purposes only because TikTok keeps taking down my videos for misinformation. Biden made the order that Ukraine can now fire US weapons into Russia. So while you're busy praising that a former president has some felony charges, you're not paying attention to the current president who might be starting World War III. How much is it going to take for you to realize the media is completely for the Democrat Party? When are you going to realize that if Trump was president and did all the things that Biden has done the past few years, God knows what only would have happened to him? I bet you over half the country didn't even know he made that order.
I didn't know that. And not in the usual, I had no idea about that way. Just, I didn't know that. There was a lot of hyper focus on the whole Trump case and the verdict. And lo and behold, in the background, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. A lot of stuff happens like that. There's a huge diversion over here that's being created while this is happening over here. Very hush hush.
Right behind me are 3 migrant shelters. There's 1, 2, 3, and this is all here in the Bronx. New York City has over 200 migrant shelters to house all the 200,000 migrants that came into the country, and they're popping up shelters like none other, and most of the locals don't even know that this is happening. If you look right behind me as well, there are 3 moving trucks because they're refurnishing and giving the migrants and the people that came to the country illegally brand new furniture to refurnish the rooms inside of these hotels. And we were talking to somebody earlier today, and they say that they can't even get rent here inside New York City because here the migrants have a program where if they want to get out of the shelter system, New York City will then give them money to get an apartment here inside the city. So these apartments in these hotels are preferring guaranteed money versus somebody like me and you watching this video who have to work to make their money in order to pay for our rent month after month. Times are getting crazy here in New York City, and this is just one block, and there's literally 1, 2, and 3 migrant shelters here inside of this block in the Bronx. Crazy things are happening here. So follow for more information.
So it had been a minute since I checked in on the situation in New York with all of the migrants going there and them just giving them everything that they could possibly need to survive because, they deserve it for only breaking our laws. And other people who are on the streets have nothing and are getting nothing. And it's terrible. I also saw this video, which just makes me sick. Yeah. People are coming to our country illegally and then protesting, which is an American right. They're protesting against immigration officers. If that doesn't light a fire under your booty, I don't know what will. That just rage. Excuse me while I interrupt my rage, and thank you for stopping by today. If there's a topic you'd like me to cover, please let me know down in the comments below, and I'll do my best to get it in an upcoming video. If you're having a good time, hit that like button and consider subscribing, and then come back tomorrow, because I'm making a new video every day.
Breaking news out of Oregon. The 13th conservative Oregon County approves a measure to secede and join the greater Idaho. Oregon is getting so bad that 13 counties think it's a much better idea to join Idaho than stay part of Oregon. Must have been all the homelessness and the crazy drug laws that they've been approving.
All right, so initially I thought maybe that was back from when they went and decriminalized all of these illicit substances. No, this is happening right now, within the last month or two. Now stuff. Parts of Oregon, they're just we don't want to be part of this anymore because y'all are ridiculous. Even though the governor recently, we just covered that they're walking back, that they're recriminalizing illicit substances. But parts of Oregon are just like, no, we're out. We don't even want to do it. I wonder if Idaho's like, yeah, come on aboard. Or if they're like, no. Just because you want to go to Idaho doesn't mean Idaho wants you.
Washington removes the legal immigration status requirements for professional licenses. That's awesome. So this is according to an Oregon Capitol Chronicle article in March. So beginning July 1st, which is right around the corner, Washington State will permit residents lacking permanent legal status to obtain professional licenses, expanding opportunities in various fields. Now, Governor Jay Inslee signed House Bill 1889, enabling the use of individual tax ID numbers instead of social security numbers for license applications, removing citizenship requirements for professions like optometry, private investigation. This move aims to address barriers faced by immigrant communities, aligning licensing rules with workforce needs. Now, with an estimated 300,000 unauthorized residents in Washington, universities anticipate benefiting from the legislation, empowering qualified individuals to contribute to the state's economy and fostering inclusivity.
For some reason, I seem to have picked a lot of videos today that just irk the daylights out of me. Because there are so many things wrong with that video. And she's just happy about it. I'm going to leave this one open for you. Why don't you tell me what you think was wrong about that video? I can't wait to see your responses.
TikTok, I'm really starting to be concerned about these shipping containers. There's been a lot of comments on my last video saying that you guys are seeing these shipping containers all over the country. And these ones have been dropped off in my community for weeks now. They get delivered by these massive vehicles, and all of a sudden military equipment starts getting loaded out of them the next day. Worst part is, they won't even let you get anywhere near them. They set up a perimeter for a full day. And I thought that was bad enough, but they're delivering more now. They're bringing 2 at a time. Like, what do they need all this military equipment for? We got to get answers before this is too late. This is very fishy and suspicious.
All right, so this is weird. I don't remember picking that video, and I don't know why it's there, but after watching it, I was like, why did I pick this video? So I go and I find that creator and I look at his stuff and I find 2 other videos at the same location with those same cans. And one of them, there's like police there. He's like, oh, see, I told you the police are guarding it. But I'm not getting any information other than, he says that they're all over the place and I'm not seeing them anywhere else. And so I look through his comments and people are just like, oh, America belongs to other countries. That's a German warbird. Go talk to your local official. Why are the police there? Set up a camera, all that other stuff. But there's nothing of substance. But now my brain is kind of like, what's happening here? Is this a real thing? Or is it just, some guy like, hey, let's start a ruckus, let's get some views. I don't know. So I'm going to do some digging. And if I find anything, I'll let you know. And if you find anything, please let me know.
The retired 4-star admiral, once the number 2 officer in the Navy, arrested on bribery charges. What he's accused of doing. Here's Martha Raddatz.
He is a retired 4-star admiral, the number 2 position in all of the Navy. But this morning, Admiral Robert Burke was arrested at his home in Florida on bribery charges for allegedly directing a lucrative government training contract to a private company that promised him a $500,000 annual salary plus stock options after retirement. Prosecutors say the bribery scheme happened over a 2-year period from 2020 to 2022, at a time Burke commanded thousands of U.S. forces as head of naval operations in Europe and Africa. The indictment says that within months of his retirement, Burke went to work for the company and received his $500,000 salary.
This goes to show that anybody can be corrupted with the right amount of money. I'm probably right around $500,000 a year corruptible too.
Yeah, some more thoughts on this H5N2 infection and fatality in Mexico, which has been confirmed by the World Health Organization. Immunologists and experts on Twitter seem very concerned about this, not the least of which because it took 6 weeks for this to become public knowledge, this infection. And until they can see the full sequence, they won't know if this H5N2 is some kind of weird hybrid that involves part of the H5N1 sequence, or if it's a totally new thing. But again, this is the first human fatality. And the people over on virus Twitter, if you want to call it that, they seem very concerned. Because again, this is not the H5N1 that people have been getting infected with on dairy farms in the southern and Midwest US. This is something different. And again, it took 6 weeks to become public knowledge and to be confirmed. This person died of the infection and had no close contact with animals or poultry or anything like that because they were bedridden at the time. That means another patient near them must have had it and somehow gave it to them. This is very troubling until we understand the source of this and if others in Mexico and elsewhere are actually infectious.
All right, I'm not saying it's time to start freaking out or anything, but maybe we ought to start thinking about when it's going to be time to start freaking out. I don't think we need to freak out. It's okay. It is a little concerning because of all of the time that happened in between and the unknowns, like who had this and how did he get it and all of that fun stuff. I'm sure they'll get down to the bottom of it and then they won't tell anybody how it happened. They'll be like, don't worry about it. And then we won't worry about it until it's time to worry about it. And then we'll discuss freaking out.
Kids in the playground, broad daylight, aerial school, Rua, Zimbabwe, 1994, and they got within arm's length of these beings. Imagine, hypothetically, if a UFO or several UFOs landed at a school in broad daylight in Rua, Zimbabwe, Africa, and interacted telepathically with nearly 100 school children. Not all of them had telepathic, but seen the incident. How significant of a story would you give that? Well, look, during the production of the film, Paula Harris actually turned me on to another landing case that happened in Australia in 1966 at a school. And this time there were roughly 300 witnesses that saw a disc land right outside a playground in Australia. And we went to Australia and investigated that case, went to the landing site, talked to eyewitness testimony, people that jumped the fence at the school playground and ran over to where this thing landed. And then we even interviewed a guy who snapped a photograph of a disc, a Polaroid.
All right, so those were 30 and 60 years ago, respectively. And he said he went to Australia and he interviewed the people that, were there for the landing, and they were school-age children. So that means they're like in their 60s or early 70s, depending on what school it was landed at. And that's interesting that there are people there to remember. So I looked into the landing that happened in Africa, and I found a paper where they were attributing it to mass hysteria. So everybody, all these children that experienced this had this mass hysteria. They called them crazy. And they're saying that they all were just hallucinating this event, and it didn't actually happen.
Believe it or not, this video is from 1915, showing the use of a smoke screen, released to mask the movement or location of military units such as infantry, tanks, aircrafts, or ships. The most common mixture for generating smoke screens was a zinc chloride smoke mixture, consisting of hexachloroethane, grained aluminum, and zinc oxide. This was combined with hydrochloric acid, which absorbed the moisture in the air, forming thick clouds that could obscure vision. Do these remind you of anything?
Let me just start by saying that was a super rad video. I love seeing old footage like that and military tactics. It's fantastic. And on another note, there certainly is an awful lot of chemicals coming out of that plane.
This is where things start to get interesting. After World War II, a man named Admiral E. Byrd led 4,000 or so military troops in what was basically an invasion of Antarctica, and this is known as Operation High Jump. The contents or what they actually did is highly classified. We don't know. According to the story, officially this was supposed to be a peaceful mapping mission, so looking for uranium deposits and sort of mapping Antarctica. Operation High Jump has become a big topic connecting Antarctica into all these conspiracies because they claim that the U.S. was doing a a covert operation to conquer this alleged secret underground Nazi base in Antarctica, as well as capture the German flying discs. The big thing with this is that the alien technology they recovered was this anti-gravity technology that we all know is used with flying saucers or UFOs, things like that. And so they were going down there to try to take that technology from them that they had. But of course, this has always been denied by the US military. But according to this theory, there was a battle with a fleet of UFOs. This is unconfirmed, but what's odd is that right after this failed mission, Admiral Byrd declared the project was necessary for the USA to take defensive actions against enemy fighters which come from the polar regions. So
That's so interesting. I mean, why would he say that?
So from what I recall about Admiral Byrd's flight was that he was just incommunicado for like 2.5 hours. And he kept very, very meticulous logs. And these logs went missing when he returned from his flight. And then his children received his logs after he had passed, and they found this covering this 2.5 hours. Like, he was led by alien crafts into this lush green area where there were buildings and stuff, and boom, there's your Nazis. And that's what was going on there. So maybe he was saying that it was essential that we went there because we found out that the Germans were there working with the aliens, especially since we just finished fighting them in World War II, and it was imperative that we know that they were there and that they know that we know that they're there. Unless, of course, he's alluding to the whole Terra Infinita stuff, and it's like beyond the ice wall, and then, you know, all of the aliens and all of those different lands and whatnots, right? I'm just trying to piece things together. I'm sure by now I've totally fried my brain, and I'm making you feel a little brain fried too. So I'm going to call it for today. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me. Come on back tomorrow. We're going to watch some new stuff. I'm going to say different things, and it's going to be fantastic. Until then, have a wonderful day.